What is going on, my people? It is your main man, Charles Tank Harris, the founder and chief visionary officer of the financial literacy platform, Wealth Our Way, where our motto is wealth is not only for the wealthy. I welcome each and every one of you to episode 11 of the Financial Power Hour. Tonight, we have special guest Brandon Copeland, NFL veteran, entrepreneur, professor at the famed Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. He is a man, they say you're either a jack of all trades or a master of none. This is a master of all trades. This young fella is very, very special, very dear to my heart. He's a client, he's Wealth Our Way family, but more importantly, he has wisdom beyond his years. And I'm going to bring him onto the set right now, my good friend and client, Mr. Brandon Copeland. What's up, B? Cope?
Man, what up, Tank? How you doing?
It's all love, man. Glad to have you in the building. I know you keep a very busy and tight schedule, and I'm just blessed to have you on the Power Hour tonight.
Listen, man, I'm excited. I'm excited to learn. Shoot, I'm excited to learn, talk, grow. That's what we always do. So excited to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
That's what's up. And I'm so pleased that you are a veteran of these types of platforms. I hear your audio nice and crisp, video set up. You're just doing it real big and real professional. So the Financial Power Hour, man, it's very conversational. It's out here to be educational platform for financial literacy to not only the members of the Wealth Our Way Nation who follow it, but the good folks on the Life 101 platform, which we'll get into. You talking about your platform, but just in general, I've been getting a lot of positive feedback on all brands of all forms of social media, whether it's YouTube, where we broadcast this over the Wealth Our Way network, or on Facebook, from people who I didn't know followed us. So it's very easy, as you know, from having your own platform, you get familiar with the people who show up week in and week out on your platform. Yeah. It starts to surprise me when people I've never heard of, that I never thought I could have a reach to, come back and talk to me about things that they've heard and how it's affected them. People sending me their credit scores that have risen, people telling me they closed on a house or got some business financing. So I just love having this platform. And I tell people all the time, man, I'm a gray beard and you're a young up and coming cat, but I learn as much from my clients as they learn from me, being kept hip to what is going on in both the financial world from an investment standpoint, and things that we named your episode, keeping your money on your mind no matter the grind, because I feel as though with having Entertainment Month on the Financial Power Hour this month, I wanted to be able to bring guests on who have succeeded in multiple realms. And you have succeeded on the field, you've succeeded off the field. So if you don't mind, could you spend a few minutes just familiarizing the audience with how you got to where you are from both your professional athlete side and then, of course, your amazing financial and academic story?
Yeah, no. Well, again, appreciate you having me. I'm sorry if in the background you hear baby boy crying or anything like that. He trying to eat. We big over here. You know how it is. So for me, I'm Brandon Copeland. For those who I haven't met, Brandon Copeland. Some people call me Professor Cope. Most people call me Cope. Christian husband, father, son, brother. I'm an entrepreneur, real estate investor, advisor, consultant, venture investor, cryptocurrency investor, and I happen to play football in the NFL. I'm also a professor at the University of Pennsylvania. Forgot that. Pretty much I think for me personally, I kind of start about what I'm actively trying to do. I literally tell people I'm trying to do what I want when I want. I'm trying to create the life I want to live. I've interned on Wall Street. I've interned at hedge funds. I've interned at government jobs. I've worked at Walmart. I've bounced outside of the local bar when I was in college. So for me, I'm a hustler at heart. I love doing multiple things. I love wearing multiple hats. And to do one thing for my entire life is boring as hell to me. So that's the reason why, a lot of people think that I'm just doing certain things for money or just doing certain things just because it might be cool. But really, I'm just doing things I'm interested in doing, and I'm learning and trying and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't work and sticking, So for me, grew up in Baltimore, my mother moved us outside of Baltimore to get better schools and education. And then my older cousin went to a private high school, went to Archbishop Spalding, and had a number of opportunities in the basketball realm. And my mom was like, well, look, if you got an opportunity to do this, to go to a private school, let's go and get you exposed to different things, get you different opportunities as well. So I was fortunate that my mom saw my cousin's experience and sent me to Gilman, which was a private school. And I'm not necessarily saying I'm fortunate because I went to private school. I'm saying I'm fortunate because I got exposed to how the world worked early. I got exposed to what money could do and how people swept money if you had money, people swept your issues and your mistakes under the rug, versus if you didn't, or when things went bad, or the finger got pointed at me or people who look like me. Right. So I would say I grew up quick, not only because of life and things that were going on at home, but also just in the business world and the way the world worked. And I always knew that no matter how much people tell you that they quote unquote care about you, you got to ultimately go out and find a way for yourself and make a way for yourself, because all of us wake up every single morning and the first thing on our mind is ourselves, right? It's either we need to brush our teeth, or you check your phone and what do I have to do today? Or, what are my kids doing and all that stuff. So we all have our own natural survival instinct. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but long story short, I've been on a mission and a journey to maximize my life, and maximize my life. I know that sounds selfish, but maximize my life, the life that I want, create the life that I want for myself and my family. And in turn, part of my own dream and vision for myself is helping so many people. For me, legacy, that's the way I live beyond my years. So for me, the reason why I share everything I'm doing from a financial standpoint is because I want other people to learn from my mistakes, my successes, learn what I'm doing as I'm doing it, and ultimately be able to take from it and create the life that they want, hopefully. And so I think that money, and the reason why you and I talk so much about money and different tools and resources, because it's all about exposure. The same type of exposure I got at being at a private school and then going to University of Pennsylvania is the same type of exposure I got coming into the NFL, to different people and networks and access to different financial investments and things like that. And I just think it's messed up that we all don't get that type of exposure. So that's my mission. My mission is democratize the access to information for everybody. And I'm doing that in a number of different ways today, and hopefully continue to grow the reach.
I love all of that as an introduction of you to the audience, because I get the understanding of who you are as a person from having worked with you prior to Wealth Our Way, even back when I was at New York Life. And the way you were introduced to me, I'm a big, as the popular saying goes now, your network is your net worth. Your network is your net worth. And I was introduced to you from a Wild Nation member and Temple alum of mine, and you were highly endorsed as a person. And it's funny because my audience knows this about me, but people outside of my audience who are listening to this, I built my professional financial advisory career in its early stages around working with professional athletes. And then I got to a point where I said I would never work with a professional athlete again. So I don't know if Brandon knew this before we started working together, but the person who brought him to me kind of like begged me to talk to Brandon. Now, yeah. Brandon has financial advisors crawling over, like Spider-Man to come see him. So he doesn't have to beg to talk to me. So like I said, he probably didn't know that, but the person cared so much about him and knew that he would be in good hands with me that they were like, hey, I know you don't mess with athletes anymore, but this kid's not like regular athletes. And as you can see, Professor at Wharton, he's not like regular athletes. So it was very much an eye-opening experience to start working with you because of your aptitude. First of all, I love that you keep me on my toes. I'm not going to tell somebody from Wharton some BS. They're going to be like, Big Tank, blah, 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 blah. And then we have a good back and forth rapport about all of our conversations. The other thing I like is I'll date myself a little bit, old men's clothing store, Sims, that said, an educated consumer is our best customer. And I love that you have that awareness, because a lot of times I find myself having to educate and advise my clients at the same time, which is, it's the job, but it's a little difficult sometimes. I had a client Zoom meeting earlier today talking about cryptocurrency, which we'll cover on this talk. And just explaining that, hey, in November, Bitcoin was at 64,000 and some change. And today was a good day. I think it's back over 40. But when we were talking, it was like 39,000. I said, if you're not a long-term believer that the cryptocurrency space will survive and all of that, I said, there has to be some inkling in you that would say, if it doesn't go to the 100,000s or the millions people are saying, that it will, if even for a second, at least get back to the previous high that it once held. And from 40 to 65,000 is a 50+%, it's a 60% return. So, you know, even if it took us 4 years to get there, that's an annualized 15% return, which is better than what we project for the S&P. So I'm thinking it's a pretty good idea to throw a couple $100 in there. And as I'm talking to her, it's always interesting. I've come to learn to read clients. I can tell when a client is buying Tank or buying what Tank is saying. And I saw in her face, she was buying Tank. If you say this is a good idea, then I'm going to do it. But she didn't necessarily buy into what I was saying. So I spent more time talking to her because at the end of the day, I want my clients to be able, and her husband, it's funny because I talk to them normally separately. Her husband has a saying that I've stolen and used. He says, I want to know it so well that I can sell it back to you. And I love when a client can say that to me. I was like, now, why did we talk about this? Because that was one of the main reasons I got away from working with athletes. I would talk to athletes. They would smile and nod. They would make me think they understood what I was saying and they got it. I would not be in their presence. The next cat would come along. And just like when somebody's trying to take your girl from you, they, instead of promoting how good they are, they want to promote how bad your current is. So they would start running. Well, what are you into? What are you doing? Oh, your guy got you doing that? That's horrible. And then my client, who thought that I was the greatest thing since spaghetti and meatballs last week, can't recall any of the reasons why they're doing what they're doing now. And I get that phone call, Tank, why do I have 3 bank accounts instead of 1? Tank, why do I? So I was like, you know what? Go ahead and live. Y'all can do your own thing. So, but one of the things you touched on that I wanted to go back into, you talked about being selfish, but we're saying it sounded selfish. Now, you're talking to a guy who argues with people daily about the use of the word narcissist. First of all, I'm a narcissist. And my question is, why aren't you? Like, you know, for everybody, because the definition of narcissism is having an overwhelming belief in oneself, an overwhelming concern for oneself. One of my mentors in my mind is Dr. Stephen Covey. He did a great illustration of why narcissism is the answer for everybody. He has these 2 circles, the circle of control and the circle of concern. He says, once we start concerning ourselves with things outside of our control, that's a recipe for mental illness. When we blame everybody for what's happening because it's outside of our control. Oh, this happened because of this happened because of that. Once we focus only on what is inside of our circle of control, that becomes inside of our circle of concern. We're living a perfect life. Well, if you think about what is the only thing you can control, you. So in definition, the only thing you should be concerned about is you. But that's almost a textbook definition of being a narcissist. I bring that up not to turn this into a psychology debate, but I bring this up to say to people that there is nothing, every charitable effort that I've ever seen has stemmed from some level of selfishness. If you pour down the people who donate to a college, it is very rare that they or a loved one didn't attend that college. If you go to the American Cancer Society and check their donation rolls, somebody had cancer in their family. Their Aunt Emily died of cancer and they write a check to make themselves feel better. There's nothing wrong with selfish. We have given it such negative connotations. My boy Jay-Z, who I've met a couple of times, but I say my boy and he would walk right by me. He doesn't know me. My boy Jay-Z says, I cannot help the poor if I'm one of them. We have to start with selfish. We have to start with bettering our own situation. Charity begins at home. All of these famous colloquialisms. We have to better ourselves so that our cup is full enough to then pour into other people's cups. So selfish or not, bro, I love what you're doing. I want to talk about the brand on your chest. I want to talk about Emil real quick. So tell the people about the Emil learning platform and your involvement in it.
One, I just circling back to what you said. Like you said, you got to be. I tell people you got to be selfish to be selfless, right? Like, so it's similar mindset. It's you know, you can't save everybody else from drowning if you don't know how to swim, you know, similar to what Jay-Z said, right? So, and know thyself to create wealth. So, I'm with you 100% there. But Emil is pretty much what I've done is I've seen myself as a financial education conduit, right? Like, how do you help bridge the gap between the people whose mission is to help impact people around their money, and then how do you actually get it to their intended audience, right, and bridge the gap? Because a lot of times the people in the rafters or the people making those decisions are so far removed from the people that they actually should be helping, in my opinion, or the people I want to help. And through that experience, I've been able to partner with a bunch of different companies and things like that to help deliver their message. But this Emil is the one I'm most excited about. I'll go ahead and put it out there because for me, Emil is democratizing the access to information for everybody. So we are literally have over 50 classes for credit. We're online. You can literally consider us an online school, online education platform, online private school. Right now, a kid literally can come to our campus online, and it's literally the Netflix of education. Take every course that they need to take and go apply to Morgan State, Howard, Brown, Harvard, Penn, wherever they want, right? Texas Tech, Texas A&M, Temple, wherever you want to apply in the country, you can go and do that. So everything is accredited. And for me, the thing was, again, my mom shouldn't have to move out of Baltimore to go get her sons some great education. Everyone should have access to an amazing education. And if we equal and even the playing field, then let's see what happens in this world, right? Give everybody an equal chance at an opportunity at education, and let's see what happens. So I've been really excited about them. I'm the director of financial education. So every money class, you know, financial education is a nice word to say money for me. Like every money class, how to buy a house, how to buy a car, credit. You know, we have the first ever accredited cryptocurrency course for high school students, first ever NFT course for high school students accredited, right? Taught by some of the best instructors in the world. One of, I'm biased, but me included. We're getting the CEO of Redfin to teach the real estate course, right? So literally every kid around the country will have access to a high quality education. The production quality is amazing. Literally think Netflix, but from education standpoint. And again, super excited about it because, again, from a scale standpoint, from an investor and a business standpoint, I love the idea, right? But from an impact standpoint too, this has the potential to literally change our world 5 to 10 years from now. So I'm excited about it.
I got to say, you just brought up something, and I've never had to do this before, but I feel compelled just with my transparency to have to do this. So I'm an investor in Emil. You know, the reality is that when Brandon was getting involved in it, I serve as not just Brandon's financial person on a personal side. I am the business's CFO, and I look over all deals that come across his desk and scrutinize them and get the valuations correct and things of that nature. So when he showed me Emil, you know, first of all, he's not a selfish cat. He just, despite what we just talked about, is selfish is okay. He shares the wealth. He's like, Tank, you want to get in on this? And, you know, I was like, yo, let me check this out. So you guys have heard me brag on my daughter 100,000 times. My Bria, who's in law school, is in education. And I showed it to her and she said, Daddy, this is amazing. You need to do this. And it was so interesting because it timed up with the pandemic, but it wasn't born from the pandemic. The lead time for this was pre-pandemic. They were moving in this direction. And then the pandemic just kind of put the fuel to the fire of now we can socially distance, still get this education. I bring up that I'm an investor to say that I'm biased from a standpoint of having access to education. When I grew up in the inner city, West and Southwest Philly, I was just lecturing my son on the drive to school this morning, how privileged he is to grow up in the suburbs, have a mom and dad who both have jobs, who went to college, and you know that no one's challenging him for his sneakers every day and things of that nature. Where I had 42 fellow classmates in my third grade class, and you're sharing books, you're putting aluminum foil on the outside of your books to not mess up the cover of the 15-year-old book. Getting to a point where I was teaching him this morning Maslow's hierarchy of needs. and explaining to him that he doesn't have to deal with the bottom of the pyramid. His physiological needs for shelter, for food, for safety, for comfort, they're all met. So he's now in the middle of the pyramid trying to get social acceptance and things of that nature, and then can worry about thriving. I said, your difference is you are looking at how to thrive, where there are kids out here who are looking at how to survive. I believe Emil levels the playing field, because you can be from Watts in California, or you can be from Palo Alto in California and be in the same class now. Yeah. So I love the platform. I love what it's doing, and your involvement in it just sent it over the top for me. So I had to get involved, and already I feel like the valuation of the company is better than when I got in. So thanks for that too. You're helping spread the wealth over here in Big Tankville. I love it.
There we go.
So one of the other things that I wanted to talk about, you've had me as a guest on both your Life 101 platform and at your class at Penn.
Yep.
How do you feel? So, and Wild Nation is a diverse cast of characters, women, men, elderly, young, millennials, baby boomers, white, black, Asian, bi, straight. The reality is that when you're one-dimensional, you limit yourself. That's why I don't like bigots. That's why I don't like people who can't open their mind to other people. You can't open your mind to ideas. You're going to limit yourself. I want to know why a certain gender does things a certain way, why a certain race does a certain thing, why young cats. You know, I learned the hard way that my oldest daughter, and so of course none of my younger kids, but my oldest daughter has never written a check in her life. Well, you know, one time she was working for me and I needed her routing number to pay her. Daddy, I don't have, what are you talking about? Like, I don't have checks. Like, you know, it's crazy to me. So I always want to keep up with what things are going on. How do you feel as, you know, once again, at the bridge race, as an African-American, you're teaching class, I've been on your Zoom, maybe 2 or 3 people look like you or me in the class, and the authority that you command in that class is amazing because you're young and you're an African-American. How have you felt as though these differences have accentuated and given you credibility, or questioned and challenged your credibility?
Yeah, great question. I think my credibility, I think as I've gotten older, well, I'll even take it a step backwards, right? Like, I think, you know, going to Gilman, going to a private school, and going to Penn, and you know, you're always going to get your credibility questioned. And then even being in the NFL, then, you know, people have no idea where you're from, but then they ask you, oh, you know, you the circles I walk into to learn about business and stuff, you know, people look at you differently when you mention, oh, I went to Penn. Oh, okay, I can talk to you, right? And it's the same thing when, you know, I think, so I have a podcast called Money Music Culture. I love music, love listening to music, breaking down the financial education lesson behind it. And I think that J. Cole says something where I used to always listen to this line in college, and he was like, basically, Wale said, the coach hate to see me walk past them, young black pants sag, headphones blasting, know what he's asking, how did he manage with all the cards against him, he used them to his advantage, slang that we speaking probably sounding like Spanglish, then I've messed their heads up when a N-word shows manners, right? And that's something that I've literally thought in my head since college. So long story short, to answer your question, at a certain point, you got to just say, I don't know if we can cuss on this podcast or not, or on this platform or not, so I'll refrain from it.
It's my podcast. Of course you can curse. Right, cool. You know, every fourth word.
Yeah. So at a certain point, you got to say, fuck it, right? Like, it is what it is. I literally had somebody recently, I did an interview with somebody recently, and, you know, during the middle of it, they literally said, wow, you're so articulate. I'm a 30-year-old grown-ass man, right? Like, you know, what did you think I was? You know, professor, football player, father, all that stuff, and I get it. So at a certain point, I think I grew to be comfortable in my own skin, and that actually happened to me in college. Long story short, I went through a soul search or depression, and heading right into an internship. It was my first internship. It wasn't my first internship. It was my first internship or summer away from the house. It was sophomore year going into junior, after sophomore year going into junior year. And and it was me living in the summer in Stanford and New York. And I remember before I went into the internship, that was the first suit I ever bought for myself. Things like that. It was the first time I ever went to a nice steakhouse was after the interview. We went to Ruth Chris right across the street from it. And I remember I just always told myself I'm corporate thug and I'm just hustling. I'm just putting these things together. And I remember telling myself going into that internship, I don't care how this thing turns out. They paid me a lot of money to be there. I don't care how this thing turns out, but I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna be myself. And if you like it, if you don't like it, you ain't gonna beat my ass. So it is what it is. We can just walk away and you can know that, you ain't gonna beat my ass, right? But I'm gonna ask you the questions I want to ask. I'm not gonna kiss your ass and all that stuff, and I'm gonna just be me. And so I think going into that early and actually having success doing that and being myself, fortunately that went positively. So I think that that's what kind of makes me come into any space and just say, I don't really care what you think about me or not, right? To be last week, for example, I went and I had to speak at this conference of all these super top tier advisors and CEOs, right, in the middle of South Carolina. And I remember I'm literally the only Black person there that's not working the event, you know what I'm saying? Like working as in serving and stuff like that. And yeah, y'all might put on y'all suits. I'm coming in here like this. I'm not trying to be in your seat. I'm trying to be me. And I don't really care what you think about me, because the thing that I've found through investing is I don't need you anymore. I think when I was younger and I was coming up, it was I had to shake as many hands as possible because I needed you to survive. Right? Or I thought I needed you not to survive. I needed you to get where I was trying to go. I needed you to give me a job. I needed you to eventually, let's not burn this bridge, because I need you to eventually do X, Y, or Z with me or invest in my business. I don't need you anymore, period. Because worst case scenario, if I didn't have football or anything else, I can go flip these houses and I'll make a living. Or I can go just straight day trade and make a living. Or I can go become a financial advisor, work anywhere I want to and make a living. But I think, again, long-winded way of answering your question, I command the respect because I am who I am. I'm confident in who I am, and I want people to be confident in themselves. And yes, like everybody else, I say I'm confident in who I am, but like everybody else, I have my own personal battles that I'm trying to get through and I'm always working on. And how do I look, and do I do this enough, and do I say and all that stuff? But at the end of the day, I am who I am unapologetically, and you don't have to mess with me and I don't have to mess with you, but we're going to be okay regardless, right? If any interaction we have doesn't go well, oh well, right? Like, we're past the point of needing each other, all of us, right? Even my students, you know what I'm saying? And so I think when you walk into situations like that, it allows you to be yourself and be comfortable being yourself. I only want to do business with people that I actually like, right? Like, there's not too many people I do business with there's nobody I do business with that I don't actually like, right? I tell people like it is, I'm transparent, and it is what it is. And sometimes, even my wife says sometimes that's to a fault, but it's not a disrespectful thing. It's just, before I die, I want you to know the real me. And, it took some time to take the mask off, so to speak. But that's we all do it in our own time. I think some people wait till they're 60, 70 to start telling it like it is. I'm old and I'm just telling it like it is. Well, why can't I do that now? And again, you do it politely. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm not sitting there, brash or anything like that. It's just like, if you ask me what I think about a name, or you ask me what I think about something, I'm going to give you my real feedback, because I think that's when I ask you a question, or when I ask you what you think about a deal, I want your real honest opinion. If I didn't want your real honest opinion, I just wanted you to agree with me, I wouldn't even ask you. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my thought on it. And hopefully that answers your question.
It does, and I appreciate the answer. But I can't let you come on my program and drop bars more than I drop bars. I'm the bar dropping cat. I'm a real Rap Friday here. I drop bars. So first of all, I will say that Nas, on his most recent album, Woo for the Children, he starts it off by saying, I don't work this hard to be around people I don't like. And that's real rap right there. Like, why get up and grind to stay in the machine? I tell people all the time on 15 Minutes of Finance and through my teachings at Wealth Our Way, let's craft a life that we want. You know, we've been pushed into this jambalaya called life, and we follow these routines that have been laid out for us, and we don't have to. We just have to have the courage to carve our own lane. And then you said something about dressing up, which is funny because this is T-shirt Tank. That's what they call me. Like when people see me in a suit, it's what's wrong, Tank? You know, and I get that from, so a lot, let's be 100% transparent. I've always been a big dude. Suits make me feel, more clothing, I sweat, I feel claustrophobic. So that's reason number one. Always want to share that with people. Reason number two, though, growing up where I grew up, the people who had suits were social workers coming to break up families, or the pastor, somebody telling you somebody died. A suit was bad news. Like the detectives wore suits with the cops. Suits were bad news. So it's a suit to this day still has negative connotations for me. But I do remember when I first started at Payne Weber and started making some real money, I saw the movie The Thomas Crown Affair, and I could not wait to emulate Pierce Bronson getting a suit made while I was at work in my office. So I did that. I lived that out. Suit made with my name on the inside, monogram shirts. But they all sat in my closet because I wanted to wear T-shirts and shorts, and that's what I do. So I'll take you from further bars than you spit. We'll go Lil Wayne's cameo on Luxury Tax with Rick Ross. And he said, big business in this bitch if you didn't know that it's big business minus the business suit. And I had to say to myself, man, is this true? But I look in the mirror and say, who else could it be if it isn't you? And that's how I've always felt. Like I don't have to lapel, shiny shoe it. I remember one of my former clients and I got into an argument. He was a very prominent Philadelphia 76er, the 76er max contract guy. The city of Philadelphia wanted to do a partnership with him, and they came down to my offices. I had offices downtown Philly, and he was in shorts and T-shirt, but he was fresh off of practice. I was in shorts and T-shirts because that's what the hell I wear in my office. And the people from the city of Philadelphia came in suited and booted. And the one of the people in the office asked if they could go to the bathroom, and the other person went with them. And he turns to me. He said, dude, really? You couldn't dress up for the meeting with the city people? I said, man, you know it's not how I get down. So they came back in. We continued talking. And like 3/4 through the movie, the tank motion happened where I said something, and the people who were in the office were like, tell us more, Tank, you know? And so we got the deal. He partnered with the city. He's sitting there on the way out like, yeah, this is my guy. My business manager is the smartest in the world. I was like, oh, no, dog, you were just upset that I had shorts and T-shirt on 5 minutes ago. So I don't Hollywood it for anybody. I often find, and you have to have, I guess, courage to be this way. It's better, in my opinion, as the saying goes, it's better to be, you know, I guess they say quiet and thought stupid than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. I take that a step further. I think it's better to be underestimated. I think it's better for somebody to walk in, look at this big dumb dude. He's big. He's got T-shirt and shorts on. And then I drop the actuarial science education on them and the 25 years of financial knowledge on them. And they're like, oh, wow. And they never forget that, you know, because you forget suits. You know, I walk into meetings all the time with 20 suits and can't remember people's names, but I'm very seldom forgotten, not just from appearance and stature, and then combine it with what I'll bring to the table. So I never judge a book by a cover, but I do love that I'm often misjudged by mine.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing though is you deliver on the information. You know, I think that's the thing that could be the disconnect for anybody out there that just assumes, oh, I'm gonna do it like Cope and Tank, right? Like there's times where, you know, it's funny because for me it's marketing. So like there was times where early in my career I would, in certain times, like I will put on a suit if I need to, or if I feel like it calls for it, especially after Power and my dog Ghost, Omari Hardwick. Shout you out, you know, they need to bring you back from the dead. But you know, after he made them suits look so super sharp in Power and everything like that. But there are certain times where I'll put it on, but I remember like earlier in my career where I did dress up depending on the situation. Like some people wanted me to dress up to go to the facility and put on a shirt and tie, suit and tie, but it was like they think that I'm an Ivy League graduate. They already think that I'm bougie and not willing to get my sleeves, my hands dirty and all that stuff. So no, I'm putting on jeans and a T-shirt, and you gonna know I might put on a button down depending on as I got later in my career, and it was like this is actually a comfort zone for me. It's a big signing, and this is how I want my picture to look. But you know, that's what I did. But then in other rooms where it was like, oh, they expect me to be the football player. Okay, I'm gonna switch it up on you, right? So I think it's one, being comfortable playing that game, but two, no matter what, is being able to deliver with the information, right? Like, who cares? You know, if I got a suit on, but like you said, I'm spitting out bullshit, then it's like, all right, but you know, we've all seen those people too. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
Seen the people with hella followers who are spewing out bullshit too, right? So again, for me, it's just about, you know, backing up what you're talking about, knowing about what you're talking about, and then besides that, you know, I think one of the things that you do well is, like, for me, I respect everybody in the room until you show me I shouldn't respect you, right? I treat everybody the same as well too. You know, I've been in places where I'm sitting there talking to the janitor, literally, like, people like, yo, come on, let's go over here. I'm catching up with homie right here, right? I'm learning something right here, like, and then cool, we'll handle that in a little bit, but for me, like, that's really how I rock, because, you know, again, I understand I'm a few decisions away, I'm a few opportunities, you know what I'm saying, and again, I also truly believe that I can learn from everyone, right? And so yeah.
It's funny you say that, you know, and my next little short story has nothing to do with finances, but it's funny you talk about talking to the janitor. One of my ex-girlfriends, I literally won her eye or heart because I used to spend so much time talking to the security guard at the door of our building. And I had seen this young lady in my building, gave her the big tank smile. It did not work. Like, she was not impressed. And one day I was leaving the building, and the security guard, we had the sports and entertainment financial group. So we constantly had celebrity and athletes coming in and out the building. So none of them wanted to obey the parking lot laws. So they were all curb parking. And my security dude hated it. So he went to go tell one of the people that worked under me and my partner, Sean, at the job. And my guy blew him off. So when I was coming down, he's like, Tank, your guy who works for you, he disrespected me earlier. And I sat there and talked to him for 15 minutes to get to the heart of what was bothering him, to let him know I would deal with my employee, to also let him know I appreciated what he did for the building, and that I would talk to the clients. Just heard him out and talk to him man to man. Right. And then I saw this young lady, it was pouring down rain, and she was sitting out there, I later find out, determining how she was going to make it through all of this rain. And I told her I would drive her to her car, and I was safe. I wasn't, going to kidnap her or whatever. I get in the car and I start running my resume down to her because I was insecure. You know, as men, we're talking to a woman, I'm insecure. Like, well, I run the sports and entertainment financial group and da. And she's like, I know who you are. I met you in the elevator before. She's like, but the way you just talked to Dexter was the front guy. She said, the way you just talked to Dexter and were so concerned about everything he had to say, and that you could just tell you genuinely cared and wanted him to be heard, that's what's important to me. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, you don't need to get this escalated then. Okay, that's good. So, but I think too many times people, we're all insecure to every extent. And, what I want to segue into with this conversation is I want to talk about your on the field accolades. I want to talk about how it's been to be a career NFL man, to be a husband who has had to, travel and be away from his wife and his children, and how you've managed that. Because, like, managing the Copeland empire is multifaceted. It's off the field business. It's charity endeavors. It's, you're a son, you're a brother, you're a child. You're so many things. And we had other athletes and entertainers on before you kind of answer this same question. So for you, your time in the NFL, people say we're at the end of our career, or we never know. You may play 10 more years, dude. We don't know. You by choice or not by choice, like necessity. COVID had cats called out of the closets who hadn't played in 3 years last year. So with that being said, what do you think has kept you grounded throughout your career? How many teams have you played for? Just talk a little bit about your sports background, because I think my audience would love to hear that as well.
Yeah. So played on 6 teams so far. We'll see if we'll be on 6 or 7, or we'll be adding a 7th here in the next few weeks, God willing. Played 9 years in the NFL, undrafted free agent out of the University of Pennsylvania. Undrafted just means, you have your first 7 rounds. You have your 7 rounds of draft picks, and then after that, you just got anybody left. It's the barrel, and you just kind of pick whoever you want. Teams pick whoever they want, but really you're the lowest guy on the totem pole, and you're just scraping to make it. And so my journey has been a roller coaster ride, nothing short of it. So practice squad, which means you do everything that everyone else does. You get paid less than everyone else does, but you just don't play on Sundays. I've done that. I've also, my second year, after 2 weeks, been cut and fired and said, hey, you're not good enough. Don't come back. Worked out for a bunch of teams, but never made it, and literally thought it was the end of my career. So literally gave myself a year after 15 weeks of sitting out, gave myself a year, January 1st, 2015, to get back into the NFL. Signed up to play arena football. Was down there for 3 days. Again, got invited to this thing called a veteran combine, and literally had the day of my life there. Out of that combine, 2 of the 100 people there were signed and played on active rosters that season. I was one of the 2, and literally haven't looked back since. And that was 2015, and obviously we're in 2022. So going in on my 10th season here, and extremely, I've learned a lot. Extremely excited about it, but also just learned a lot, seen a lot throughout my career. In terms of managing it all, I think coming into the league, it was like, how do I take this pen brain, this education, and really my brain and education, and how do I maximize this platform, this opportunity monetarily? For me, it was like I wasn't coming in and making millions of dollars or anything like that. So it was like, okay, but I still making more than,
more than Tank.
So I was like, let me see how I started day trading. And I remember day trading while playing, and it was great. I mean, I was winning, but it was also just looking back on it. It was stressful. It was terrible. I couldn't focus on meetings because I was wondering what was happening in my account and the options that I just bought and stuff. So long story short, I think different experiences over my career have helped me figure out how to find a balance. And the one thing I will say, when it comes to balance, there is no balance, right? So like, there is no balance. I can't turn it off. There is times like I tried the whole multiple phones thing. I got the old one over there. It's off now, but like I had multiple phones to have the business and the personal. It ended up just being the personal became the business and vice versa. So I cut the business off, right? Like, because when it's you, it's you. Mm-hmm. The things I do, I'm excited to do and I'm happy about. In terms of managing time, right? Like what I am fortunate, and I understand that I'm extremely fortunate. I don't accomplish anything without my best friend. I'm fortunate. I'm one of the fortunate people in this world. I'm literally married to my best friend. So like, we talk about everything, business, relationship, everything, goals, aspirations, etc. And so I'm fortunate that she's superwoman and she's willing to handle a lot. And she also works herself, and she has her own vision, her own dreams. So there's times where I got to be Superman to a certain extent. But I give all praise to her, because she makes things easy, right? Like a lot of guys, when they go on the road to go do a speaking engagement, they have to hear a bunch of blah, 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 blah. And ultimately, there's times where it's like, I mean, I'd rather you not go on the road, but you handling business, like you living your dream, and I understand that, right? And so that's what I'm fortunate to do. What I'm trying to do actively in terms of actually managing the empire now is like getting a strong team around me, people who can take the vision and go with it and roll with it, right? I popped in on Earn Your Leisure's Steve Harvey interview that they had yesterday, and one of the things Steve said, and it's funny because I've echoed it to my team before, is like I don't have yes people around me, but when I have an idea and a vision, your job isn't to tell me why it won't work or why it can't happen or what we can't do. Like I know it's going to be hard, right? Like if it was something that was already out there, it wouldn't be a damn vision. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Right? Like you are being paid to make it fucking happen.
Yeah. Right? Make it work.
Give me solutions, right? Mm-hmm. Don't give me problems. Tell me where we need to make this thing better, but don't tell me what we can't do. I've had too many people in my life tell me what we can't do. I'm the boss now, right? And so that's what I've been fortunate, I think, is to try to find the right people around me that can help me push my vision forward around the clock and take some of the pressure off me so that I can show up and show out when I need to. Now, with that being said, again, I'm going to go get on the bike after this and I'll be answering emails, right? I try to maximize all of my time, right? Like if I'm this season, I would get I would get 4 massages a week, one on Monday after the game, one on Wednesday and Thursday, and then one on Friday with the team. And on my Wednesday and Thursday massages, they were usually 5:30 to 7:30 after practice. And I set up Zoom meetings then, right? Zoom meetings, emails, texts, right? Like those were my business meetings. And so the people I work with, you got to just get used. I don't operate at the normal hours, right? And so that's just what we got to do. So I'm fortunate that the people around me are flexible in helping make this thing happen.
I love that. And what you said about your spouse, who I know, but if you're not using her name, I won't use her name, but Mrs. Taylor is super. And you are blessed. And it's funny because I have a couple of clients that when I talk to their wives, it's like they're the CEO in the home. And even though they have jobs outside the home, and it's just amazing that the amount of wealth that we don't realize isn't just about our dollars, that, having a good spouse, having a good support staff, having, a good team around you is wealth, and rebuilding that. I remember when I first started at Smith Barney, I was in my first sales class at Smith Barney, and I heard a phrase that I embraced and have followed ever since, that they said it costs 6 times more money to get a new client than it does to keep a current client. And I just thought about that in terms of the effort, the time, the re-education, the startup, the ramp up, the buy-in. Yeah, whether it's an actual dollar spend or if it's an effort spend, it's definitely exponentially more expensive to go out and get new clients than to keep the ones you have. It's the same thing in your home. We jokingly say cheaper to keep her, but the reality is that when you build up wealth with someone through your connection and the mastermind that you have with this person who's closest to you, who also, we may not like it, but can see our flaws and show them to us in a way that we'll accept because we trust and know that they love us. It's invaluable. And, kudos to you. I have a lot of clients and friends and members of Wild Nation who are happily married. And my marital issues have been well chronicled, but I will say that my spouse is one of my biggest supporters, regardless of what we're doing. Like, regardless of fighting or not fighting, I can't stand your ass, but you know what you need to do in this broadcast? You need to do this, this, and this, and don't call me tonight. It's that equity that you can get when you're in a relationship where someone sees you for who you are and can promote what's best in you because they know you sometimes better than you know yourself. One of the things that I wanted to make sure we cover, you touched on it earlier, we kind of breezed through it, but I've had an experience with it myself, and I know our audience has talked about it. The mental health element of the stress in this country, and once again, to bring it to a race thing, not that everybody doesn't deal with mental health, but Black men in particular, of late especially, there's been a rise in suicides in Black males. It's a lot of pressure. And we, inside of our own community and inside of our own homes, we're looked to be these leading characters, these leading figures, and sometimes we need a hug. Like, I don't want to sound like a softie, but sometimes you just need a hug. I remember sitting in the parking lot outside of Smith Barney my second year when I realized I was going to make it and this was going to be my life. And it was a Monday morning. That previous weekend, I was in North Philadelphia at a bar with a bunch of my friends from Temple, and somebody got stabbed in the bar. And the person who got stabbed went and got a gun and shot the guy who stabbed him outside the bar. And the cops came, and we were all, as patrons, told to stay in the bar. And it's like 1:30 at night. Nobody found this odd. Like, this was North Philly. This was 19th and Ridge. This can happen on Saturday night.
Right.
But all of us, this could go down. But all of a sudden, one of my Temple people turned to me, and it was weird. Like, I was cool the whole time until this happened. He's like, "Tank, what are you doing here?" I was like, "What do you mean?" Like, I'm here because we said we was eating after this. Like, well, I'm here. What are you talking about? And it's like, "Nah, man, you big time now. You shouldn't be here." And I was like, "Whoa, like, this is where I belong. Y'all are my people."
Right.
And I remember thinking about that. It was Saturday night, so I thought about it all day Sunday. I'm driving to work Monday, banging a Biggie CD, and I remember just subconsciously turning my volume down as I turned into the parking lot. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, man, my people said I don't belong with them, but I'm looking at this glass atrium too, and I definitely don't belong with these people. Like, I don't even want to wear their suits and stuff like that. I'm a man without an island. Like, I felt so ostracized at that moment. And the only thing that gave me solace, and I know it was God looking out for me, was I ran across an article later that day about Kendall Gill, who's a basketball player who used to play for the Chicago Bulls, had played for the University of Illinois, who had come out publicly and said that he was suffering from depression. And I remember thinking, you know, he's a handsome guy. He's an NBA millionaire. What's he got to be depressed about? And I'm reading the story and I'm like, that's me, man. Like, you know, I got all this money from Smith Barney and my people tell me I can't come to the bar on Saturday no more. These people in the office don't like me. They don't invite me to their events. Like, I understand, Kendall. So I say that to say, man, tell me a little bit about the challenges that you have faced that have tried you, that have made you say, like, you know, this is a lot, and you got something there cooking. So tell your man.
Nah, I mean, listen, I don't want to say it's a daily battle, but I think that's life. You know, mental health is real, mental wellness is real, taking care of your mental is real, and I don't want to say the quicker you can manage it, but the better you can manage it, the better you can manage your mental wellness and understand how you need to take care of you and what triggers you versus what keeps you comfortable versus what you need to do to get a break and the reset is, I mean, I would say it's probably directly correlated to your output in life, right? I don't want to say your success, but just your own personal output in life and your own comfort with yourself, right? What I mean when I say that is, like, from a mental wellness standpoint, yeah, there are so many things that trigger me. I would not be here today without having a bunch of different mental wellness battles, but I don't think of it necessarily the way some may think of it, right? Like yes, there's depression. Yes, there's soul search periods. But ultimately for me, it's about what do you gain from those periods? Like for me, that sophomore year going into that internship, that depression led me into the man I am today. Right? Like, it led me into being more comfortable in my skin. It gave me more of a, like, I don't care what you think about me. This is who I am. If you don't fuck with me, then I don't fuck with you. It's okay. Right? Like, cool. There's plenty of space in this world. Right? But before that, without that depression, I probably would have been the guy sitting here trying to be, you know, let me be a friend. Oh man, they don't like me. Oh man, Tank, right? Like, and so it's those modes and those battles are what ultimately mold you. People are going to talk shit about you, right? And also, this is the one thing I also do. I think one of the things I do I'll kind of share some of the things that I go through mentally or have gone through mentally, but then I also kind of share some of the things I do to kind of relieve myself of that pressure. So some of the things I've gone through mentally: you ain't good enough, you too slow, you too fat. I've been doing that since I was in elementary school, playing basketball, trying to compete with everybody on the AAU circuits, right? You don't belong here. You know, again, like I said earlier, you're articulate. Oh, you must be smart. All those types of things, right? Dealing with, you know, things going on at home growing up, family members doing stupid shit, right? Risking our whole financial well-being, even recent things, people risking my own financial well-being, things like that. And so, yes, they can send you into a depression. They can send you into a soul search, a deep dive. But as you alluded, the things that I do to kind of pull myself out of them is, one, I use everything as motivation for the most part, right? I'm actually getting further away from that now that I'm in a more comfortable place in life, I'd say. which is scary because sometimes you're like, I'm not the same. I don't have the same hunger I used to have. Well, no, I'm just also more mature. Like, you just can't affect me mentally like you used to be able to affect me. I'm not 15, 21, 25. You know what I'm saying? And that's a good thing, in my opinion, right? I don't let other people control my emotions as much as I used to. Like it used to be, if you told me you're not good enough, that was my motivation for the next 6 months, right? I got pictures, I got quotes literally on my childhood room. My mom still has the same house from when we were kids. There's literally a bunch of quotes on the wall of paper I wrote in Sharpie of the different quotes that coaches and people have said about me. I had to look at every single day. You know what I'm saying? And that's what helped me thrive, right? Now, one thing I do is I kind of do a big perspective shift, right? Like I try to pull myself out of my own shoes. Like if this is me, I try to zoom out and let's look at the whole thing, right? Like whatever I'm thinking about today, is it really, does it really matter, right? It might matter to me today, but like, is it something that somebody's saying about me? Is it something that somebody's not liking my product or whatever, right? Little things like that, like, all right, let's move on, right? Then the other thing is I also think about who's saying those things or where are those things coming from, right? Like, are you going to be at my funeral, right? Do you affect how me or my kids eat? If you don't, keep it pushing. You know what I'm saying? So those are some of the things that I kind of think about. And then ultimately, again, I think the biggest thing is like, whatever it is, whatever that outcome is from a mental health standpoint, how do you use that to propel you forward, right? Whatever it is, right? Things going on at home, a death in the family, right? Losing a job. How do I take it regardless? And again, I'm going, it's funny because Steve Harvey said so many things that I'm not going to say, well, yeah, I've said, but I've told people, but obviously not on his platform. It's like, I always tell the students in my class, like, you're sitting in this chair for a reason. Like, I'm a big believer in God and Christ, right? So I don't know what everyone else believes, but for me, I believe like God got me through so many different things, and I'm here. It's for a reason.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? And why shouldn't I believe I'm gonna get through the next thing, right?
No doubt.
And yesterday, Steve said, you've gotten through 100% of the bad things that have happened to you in your life. Like if you're here, you got through it. So why do you believe that that's not going to happen in the future?
Nah, that's perfectly said, bro. As we get to the end of the program, first and foremost, I want to thank you again. An hour of your time is so precious to get, and I appreciate you blessing the people on Wild Nation with your time and your knowledge and your experiences. Tell everybody where they can find your platforms. We put the Life 101 platform. Thank you, Sister Tashawana, for making sure the www.life101.io is up. Tell them where your Instagram handles are, anything else they can find you.
Yeah, no, appreciate you. Life101.io, appreciate you plugging that. We're actually going through a reno right now. It's still live and up, but it's gonna be nice. And bcope51, BCOPE51 is where you can reach me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. And then we also have my own personal website, BrandonCopeland.com. So yeah, feel free to get at me and shoot, let's connect.
There it is. So I want to thank each and every one of you for being here on the Financial Power Hour this week with your man, Big Tank of Wealth Our Way, and our special guest, Professor Brandon Copeland, NFL vet, entrepreneur, just community activist, philanthropist, educator. We are blessed to have you here, and hope you'll join the show in the future. So you guys know how I do it. I tell you the same thing every week, and I tell it to you for a reason, because I want it to be ingrained into your brain. Wealth is not only for the wealthy. You guys make sure we check out tomorrow, 15 Minutes of Finance, 12:30, same bat time, same bat station. And until then, I'm going to sign out with our new outro. So